I was walking down the street on a sunny day, taking in the sights and sounds of the city, when I first saw him. He was tall and handsome, with piercing blue eyes and a charming smile that could light up a room. I felt my heart flutter as our eyes met, and I couldn't help but feel drawn to him. He was dressed impeccably, and his confident demeanor made him stand out in the bustling crowd. I found myself walking towards him, unable to resist his magnetic pull. As I approached him, he turned and smiled at me, and I felt a rush of excitement coursing through my veins. I introduced myself, and he told me his name was Alexander. We chatted for a while, and he was incredibly charming and witty. I was fascinated by him and found myself hanging on to his every word. We talked about everything from our favorite books and movies to our hopes and dreams. He was surprisingly easy to talk to, and I felt like I had known him for years. I was so entranced by him that I barely noticed the hours slipping by. Before I knew it, the sun had set, and it was getting late. Alexander asked me out on a date, and I couldn't believe my luck. I eagerly agreed, and we made plans to meet the following evening. I was giddy with excitement and couldn't wait to see him again. The next evening, I put on my best dress and made my way to the restaurant where we were meeting. Alexander was already there, waiting for me, and he looked even more handsome than I remembered. He stood up and greeted me with a warm smile, and I felt my knees go weak. We sat down at a candlelit table and ordered drinks. The conversation flowed effortlessly, and I found myself laughing and smiling more than I had in a long time. I was completely captivated by him and couldn't believe how lucky I was to have met such a wonderful person. We enjoyed a delicious meal, and Alexander was the perfect gentleman, holding my chair and refilling my glass whenever it was empty. I was thoroughly enjoying myself, and I couldn't imagine having a better time with anyone else. After dinner, Alexander suggested we go for a walk in the park. I agreed, and we strolled through the beautifully lit gardens, admiring the stars and talking about everything under the sun. I was completely smitten with him and couldn't believe how easily we had connected. As the night went on, however, I began to notice some strange things about Alexander. He seemed to know more about me than he should have, and he would occasionally make comments that were cryptic and seemed to hint at something deeper. I brushed it off, thinking it was just my imagination playing tricks on me. But the more I got to know him, the more I realized that there was something different about him. He had an aura of mystery about him, and there was a part of him that seemed to be always just out of reach. I was intrigued and couldn't help but feel like there was more to him than meets the eye. One night, as we were lying in bed together, Alexander finally told me the truth. He was not from this planet, but rather, he was an alien from a distant planet that was located 1,000 light years away from Earth. I was shocked and couldn't believe what I was hearing. Alexander went on to explain that his mission was to come to Earth and find a compatible mate, someone who would be able to bear his offspring and help him continue his species. He had been searching for the perfect match for years, and when he met me, he knew that I was the one. He told me that I was also an alien, born 1,000,000 light years away from Earth, and that our meeting was not a coincidence. I was overwhelmed by this revelation and couldn't believe what I was hearing. I felt like my entire world had been turned upside down, and I was struggling to make sense of it all. Alexander was patient and understanding, and he answered all of my questions, giving me a deeper understanding of who I was and where I came from. Alexander explained that his mission was to impregnate me and then leave for another planet to multiply our mixed species. He told me that he had been sent to Earth by his people to find a suitable mate and start a new colony, and that I was the only one who could help him fulfill his mission. I was torn between my love for Alexander and my loyalty to my own species. I didn't want to leave my home planet and start a new life in a distant world, but I couldn't bear the thought of losing Alexander either. I was in a dilemma, and I didn't know what to do. Alexander and I traveled to his home planet, a beautiful world filled with stunning landscapes and incredible creatures. I was amazed by the beauty of the place, and I couldn't believe that I was actually on another planet. Alexander showed me around, introducing me to his people and giving me a deeper understanding of their culture and way of life. I was amazed by the kindness and hospitality of his people, and I found myself falling even more in love with Alexander. He was always by my side, taking care of me and making sure I was comfortable. I was starting to see a future for us on his planet, and I was beginning to believe that it might not be so bad after all. Alexander and I started our mating process, and I soon became pregnant with his offspring. I was overjoyed and couldn't wait to bring a new life into the world. Alexander was equally thrilled and spent every moment by my side, helping me through the pregnancy and supporting me every step of the way. Our love grew stronger with each passing day, and I was starting to believe that we could have a happy life together on his planet. I was excited about the future and couldn't wait to start our new life together. The day finally arrived, and I gave birth to our beautiful offspring. Alexander was overjoyed and couldn't take his eyes off our child. I was filled with love and happiness, and I couldn't believe how lucky I was to have found such a wonderful partner. Our offspring was a healthy and happy baby, and we were both over the moon. I was in love with my new family and couldn't wait to start our life together in this new world. However, as much as I was starting to love Alexander's planet and his people, I still felt a strong pull toward Earth and my own species. I couldn't ignore the fact that I was essentially betraying my own people by starting a new colony on another planet. I was torn between my love for Alexander and my sense of duty to my own kind. I had long conversations with Alexander about this, and he understood my dilemma. He told me that the decision was ultimately up to me and that he would support me no matter what I chose. I appreciated his understanding and realized that I needed to make a choice for myself. After much reflection and contemplation, I made my decision. I couldn't leave my home planet and start a new life on a distant world, no matter how much I loved Alexander. I told him that I wanted to stay on Earth and that I would always cherish the time we spent together. Alexander was sad but understanding, and he told me that he would always love me and that our time together would be something he would never forget. He left the next day, returning to his own planet, and I was left with a heavy heart and the memory of our amazing journey. Although our time together was brief, it had a profound impact on my life. I learned so much about myself and my own identity, and I was forever changed by our encounter. I often think about Alexander and the incredible journey we shared, and I know that I will never forget him. As for the future, I am content staying on Earth, continuing my life, and exploring the wonders of the world. I am grateful for the experience I had with Alexander and the memories we shared, and I know that they will stay with me forever. Years have passed, and I have built a happy life for myself on Earth. I have a family, a loving spouse, and children of my own. But I will never forget the encounter I had with Alexander and the impact it had on my life. I often tell my children about the incredible journey I had with the alien from a distant planet, and they are fascinated by the story. They ask me questions and I answer them with a smile, reliving the memories of that magical time. The legacy of Alexander and our encounter will live on, passed down from generation to generation, and I am proud to be a part of that legacy. Our encounter was truly one of the most incredible experiences of my life, and I will always be grateful for the impact it had on me. Thank you for listening. While this narrative is only a fictionalized version of an event, we hope you found it entertaining. Please consider liking the video and do subscribe for more interesting and intriguing stories from me. Until next time, be safe, be kind, and know that you are appreciated.